Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Body Slam's post show for WWE Clash at the Castle, Clash at the Castle, emanating from Cardiff, Wales, the first stadium show in 30 years. It was eventful, to put it succinctly. So I am of course the Jameis. I am joined today by the incomparable Andy Moore of the Untitled podcast, our resident British wrestling aficionado. We'll go with that word. And of
Nice.
course, my good pal Tom Talks Rubbish. We just did an interview the other day. How are you guys doing?
Deflated, but we'll get to that.
Deflated is a good word to put it. So, before we get into any matches, overall thoughts on the show?
Excellent. I honestly, despite ending, it was an amazing show. They put so much effort into that. Most of the time you were thinking WWE, they're just going to phone it in. But even I don't follow WWE too much, but I've seen the build-up. I've looked at it and the video packages, the stories that they told during the night. It was a fantastic show.
Yeah. I'm very similar to Andy in the sense that I'll only really watch clips of WWE if one of you good people sends something to me or if I find something cool. But having watched all the video packages, you could tell this was like a love letter to the British fans from the WWE.
Yeah, almost like they were trying to make up for something that recently happened. I wonder what that could have been.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Anyway, what did you think, Jameis?
Yeah.
I thought until the ending, which I agree with Tom, was deflating. And we'll get to that. I have a rant I'm probably going to pontificate about.
Mm-hmm.
Rant to your red in the face.
The match was really good. The main event was really good top to bottom, and I have a lot to praise about the match. But that's every match throughout the night. I thought at times the opener was a little clunky, but it was still really well done, and every match came out and delivered. Liv Morgan had her best match to date. Walter and pardon me,
Walter and
Gunther.
And
He is not
Sheamus
Gunther.
had a terrific match. Everything I wanted out of it. The tag match was solid. Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins tore the house down. That was a really fun pro wrestling show.
Definitely. As you say, I think it was fantastic. And to have that in the UK, it felt special. And, I've talked to many.
My boy Mike from Indeed.
What up?
Thank you for the
Hey,
wonderful
Mike, how we doing?
overlays.
Why's
Very
my
clean.
head been cut off?
I've spoken to so many of the top independent stars recently, and they've all spoke about how hyped they've been for this Clash of the Castle. I recently spoke to Eddie Dennis today. He was walking down Clash of the Cardiff, and he said it felt like WrestleMania. It felt like when WWE would come and take over, the whole city. And then, of course, you've got all the independent promotions that have got involved. It's been awesome.
And the feel, too. I really enjoyed the simplicity of the set. You don't need an elaborate stage. You can fit more people in. They look bigger coming out of that set. It reminds me a couple of years ago of when they did the Rumble at Chase Field, which is a beautiful ballpark. You can
Was
follow
that
my
the
big
show?
ballpark
That
elsewhere.
was the last Rumble pre-pandemic.
No, that was Minute Maid. Another baseball park, and that Minute Maid is in Houston. So the Rumble at
It was when the entrances all overran because it was so long.
The entrance was the dugout. So Becky Lynch walks out ducking, and then you can see over her with the crowd behind her instead of, because it's like a 360 stage with the dugout, because dugouts aren't that tall, and it looks bigger. Feels like a bigger deal. And Becky walking down with the man signs behind her during her entrance during the Rumble. Like that those types of entrances I like. You don't need elaborate sets, especially when you're in a stadium and you're trying to fill 60,000. There's an intimacy there. There weren't big gaps in the crowd, so it looked like there were 60,000 there. Legit. Yeah. That still may be a shoot number. I don't know. I don't have those numbers to look at. I would hope not, or otherwise me doing this show and not something with WWE would be very disheartening. But it felt bigger. It felt intimate despite the size. It Cool crowd shot. The production, they didn't have the LED ramp until the main event, which made it feel more important in the main event. It also didn't overdo it throughout the show.
I didn't even notice that, but that is a pretty cool thing.
Talking of
felt like a big
entrances,
deal from the opening shot.
I would love to just talk about Asuka. The way she comes out, she steals that entrance the moment she walks out the curtain. Just amazing. It's been so long since I've watched a WWE show. I've forgotten how captivating she is as she comes down to the ring.
I sent out a tweet during the show, and I think you liked it on the Untitled account. But you like all my tweets. I appreciate that. So I sent out a tweet that said, there's nobody in wrestling that looks like they have more fun enjoying what they do than Asuka. And it's so enjoyable to see. People can talk about Becky Lynch. I'm the biggest Becky Lynch fan. Like, anybody who's followed my work knows she's my second favorite female wrestler of all time, behind Lita and just edging out Manami Toyota. But people can talk about Bayley because what she's done since the start of the pandemic is terrific work. But there is no more captivating women's wrestler in the world over the last 2.5 years than Asuka. And it's not close. Just every single thing she does is so entertaining in a heartful way. Like, you can tell it's legit, it's authentic, and she's just having fun. And the viewer has fun with that. Yeah. And for somebody who's as good as she is, I believe Charlotte on the Broken Skull session she just did said Asuka's the best fundamental wrestler she's ever been in the ring with. Wow. For somebody as good as Asuka is, can work any style, very physical, very fundamentally sound. Despite the language barrier, can cut a captivating promo for any language. For somebody as good at her job as Asuka is, the biggest thing she excels at is how entertaining just everything she does is, and how she comes across like a little kid. And it's very heartful. Like,
she embraces the entertainment side of it, and that's something you see a lot of, like a split in Japan. Like, one is traditional, two, the other side, it's all about entertainment, all about pageantry, and she's on that side of the.
There is no complete more. There is not a more complete women's wrestler in the world today than Asuka, and I'm not. I don't think it's close.
I mean, I love Sayori from Stardom. Sayori's
great. So is
smashing it. Absolutely. So many of them.
There's a lot of great people from Stardom.
You know, Julia. I love Natsupoi at the moment, but we're here to talk about WWE.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Iwatani fan. Nakano's great, but there's a lot of great workers in Stardom. There's a lot of all-arounders in Stardom, but Asuka is just head and shoulders above everybody, especially in the States. Like, there's not a more complete worker and entertainer in women's professional wrestling, at least stateside, than Asuka today. And it's not close. You can look at Becky Lynch and go, Becky Lynch is the biggest star. You can look at Bayley and go, Bayley's the best on the microphone. But they don't have that quality that Asuka brings to the table.
I mean, you drop the women's thing, she's still top 3. She is one of the best in the world. Hands down, male or female, top 3. She is amazing.
So I thought the match was really good. Although we kind of skipped over the kickoff match, so let me go through that real quick.
That was
Montez's Swords, Tope, Plancha, Blockbuster was a really cool spot. I just want to give a shout out to my boy.
He is insanely athletic.
But back to
that was very house showy feel.
Which is perfect. Match. It didn't need to be
which was perfect, yeah.
But back to the opener. There were times you could tell Dakota was a little out of her element with some of the workers there, but it was a really fun match.
I don't think they should have opened.
I didn't like that they opened with the everybody in the ring spot, but I get it. I didn't think the match needed it, but they went out there for 20 minutes, had a great match. Bayley did a really good job controlling the crowd that didn't want to boo her, and that's something that she's really good at. I just gave
So,
my Oscar praise for
I have a
most
quick
complete
story
women's wrestler
on
in the
that.
world. Bailey, wonderful at getting any point she wants across.
I have a quick, well, it's not a story, just something that was happening when I was watching the show with, because my family were in and out while I was watching it, because obviously it was a during the day show here. And my brother pops in quickly whilst I'm watching the first match. And he knows that Bailey chant, which I found was quite cool. Because apparently that's gone all over. It escapes me, but apparently it's gone all over TikTok. It's gone all over like social media since it happened. Like whenever it happened the first time, I can't quite remember.
When she worked at NXT, when NXT did their Takeover London show.
We British. We love to sing. It's the same song we sing for Mike Bailey whenever we see Speeble Mike Bailey in town. When he was at RevPro UK recently, we were singing the exact same song for. So
What
anyone
song
named
is it?
Bailey.
Yeah, that's just whatever
Andy,
show
what
she
song is
worked
it?
Nia, because that was the Nia match. I
Take
want to
Over
say it was
London,
Take
yeah.
Over London.
Take Over London. I forgot that because I was there.
So that's when that chant started. The match was really good. I like the detail of Bailey pinning Bianca after everybody else did the damage, because that sets up Bailey's "I beat you," but Bianca can go, "You didn't beat me," and it sets up the future singles match without having to have the champion lose a singles match.
They needed to win that as well after the whole tag team debacle.
And establishes them as a trio, right?
Yeah, you had to. When we
What
did
did you guys think of this match?
It was great. I don't think it should have opened the show, but it was a great match.
Why don't you think it should have opened? Because I think that was the perfect match to open.
I think Sheamus and Walter would have just absolutely blown the place up straight off the bat, and I would have opened with that. I think it was that type of match you could have just got away with as a huge. The crowd would have been absolutely raving by that point. Then you had that match, and it would have just been top to bottom. I think starting with that match would have been the better option. My opinion,
I don't mind. I don't know what I'd open with if I changed it, but I do know I'd keep Gunther versus Sheamus second, regardless. It's the old adage is people are going put a train wreck first if you have a train wreck, so that people are even more into your matches that followed. And while the crowd would have been hot for Walter and Sheamus, regardless, I don't think they would have been as hot if it opened. It's like, I do think that was match of the night. Do y'all want to go ahead and get to that?
Yeah, let's talk about that match.
Is that the next match then?
Let's talk about the layout of that match. They built to the 10 beats of the Bowery.
Before we go into that, can we talk about the pre-match brawl before the bell?
Sure.
So the detail that I love, and I don't know how you guys felt about it, was literally I am not too familiar with the people. Obviously, it's Pete Dunne and
Rich Holland.
Who's that was Sheamus? Rich Holland was Sheamus. But who are I'm not too sure who the other two were.
So that's Marcel. Well, sorry, formerly
Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. So Giovanni Vinci from NXT and Ludwig Kaiser.
Now
they were with him in NXT UK when he
they were Imperium. Okay.
Yeah, it was Imperium was those two. Walter and the guy from Sanity, I can't think
Alexander Wolf. Yeah,
Alexander Wolf.
Now.
Correct.
Okay, but the detail that I loved was they're all brawling, and Walter and Sheamus are literally just like, nope, we're not going to fight till the bell rings. I loved that.
I did too. I'm disappointed that they just fought off backstage, though, and I'd like to see the referee take control and say, "You're out of here. Get your asses out of here." And then pick up the match. I think established referee is an authority figure. Don't just have them fight off backstage because you need to get rid of them. Give them a proper reason.
So the thing I really liked about this is if you listen to the NXT post show that Body Slam does every week, you'll see a familiar face if you do. So the NXT post show is Throwback and I, my boy Patrick, who will be on tomorrow with Tom Talks Rubbish.
For my show,
watching, I believe Morishima and Anderson won the poll.
Yep.
So we'll be watching an old Takeshi Morishima versus Bryan Danielson match. I'm very excited for
It'd
that.
be badass.
So,
So-
yeah.
So it's him and I. One thing I rant about every week. I really like Fabian Eichner. I think he's really good bell to bell. I think he's a great hand. The Giovanni Vinci character they'd been trying on NXT 2.0 was not working.
Mm.
Especially when you had Maximum Male Models who's doing the same character
Mm.
to a much higher extent on Fridays. So when I heard him say Giovanni, I jumped out of my chair because finally I can get behind Fabian Eichner again. I don't.
Has he
think-
not been with Volta? Obviously, he's
No,
been
not on
with Volta.
SmackDown.
Okay.
Once
Yeah, they left him behind for
when
some
Walter
reason.
got called up, they changed Marcel Bartel's name and called Gunther up. And then they left Fabian Eichner, changed his name and changed his character. So he's been doing a French model gimmick
Oh, okay.
on NXT 2.0. For the
I'm glad I'm
most
not
athletic
doing that.
dude on payroll, they
Look,
really
look,
weren't doing much with him. And it was
Don't
very
get me
one-dimensional.
on NXT 2.0, all right? Turning A-Kid into some Power Ranger
Axiom.
luchador called Axiom. No, A-Kid is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, and they need to strip that back and let him get back to being A-Kid. Maybe change his name because A-Kid was a bit weird.
If you want to hop on an NXT 2.0 post show
God
to discuss
damn.
this, you can,
I'm
but that's
so-
a bit of a tangent for this show.
Yeah. Don't get me all started on name changes.
So, the match itself, I thought it was WWE's match of the year because everything they did built upon the next thing they did. They didn't. Of course, the match was going to be physical. You have two very hard hitters, and you have your British strong style at the forefront of a big American promotion for the first
Yeah.
time, probably ever.
I
on a big
tweeted this
pay-per-view.
There
out.
was one thing missing for me, and there's one thing missing that makes it like it just wasn't quite Walter versus Ilya or Walter versus Tyler, and that was the story. Yes, the wrestling and the wrestling story was great, but what was the story behind it? And I
Right.
think it lacked that, and that's the
you
reason
mean
why
in the
I
sense
think
that-
Riddle was the best match of the night.
Do you
Riddle
mean in the
was
sense of the build-up?
Yes. So
Yeah,
it lacked
I do
that
agree with you on that one.
ending story that they had with Tyler Bate and Ilya and even Pete Dunne, which made those matches
I think you mean
better than
Butch
this
Pal.
match. No, he's back to being Pete Dunne now. I've seen it. He was stripped back down to his bruiserweight gear.
And his
Yes, he
Peaky
came out,
Blinders
but-
character's still a thing, though.
But they've at least given him his wrestling gear back for his matches. Bruiserweight's coming back.
Shane is struggling to get the 10 beats of the bar win to where he had to pull it out over the announce table,
I love
over the
that.
barricade.
That
was a
story
very
was
nice
great.
touch.
And
They-
the match story was great, but there was a lacking overarching story.
Yeah,
They
I do
built
get what you're
to-
saying.
They built to the high cross, which Sheamus hasn't done in at least 5 years, probably longer.
That's his
because-
powerbomb move,
Because
right?
that's his razor's edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that Sheamus had to dig that deep into his arsenal, he was that desperate, puts Walter over just as much as the victory does.
Yeah. it
Sheamus
does.
had to do something he hasn't done in 7 or 8 years to even try to win the match. That's how much of a player
Question.
Walter is.
Question for you guys. We were talking about this at the start of the show. I am wondering if they should have put this on last
No,
and maybe given Sheamus the win to
No.
send the crowd home happy.
No, we'll get to the
Gunther's
crowd happy
establishing that I
but
see.
that match
He's
didn't
making
have the
that
build of the
genuine.
main event. People paid to see Drew McIntyre. You put Drew McIntyre on last every time because the person people paid to see today was Drew Galloway.
Yeah.
And that's most people probably came for the spectacle of a big WWE show for the first time in 30 years. But the people that were brought in once the card was announced came to see Drew Galloway.
Yeah, the same people
the
that are going to
change.
be the ITW show in just a little while.
So the plus, I wouldn't have minded a Sheamus win because I've been waiting for that Sheamus title win forever.
Mm.
But you can't have Gunther lose the belt this soon, especially
Yeah.
since you're trying to put him over as a monster. A win versus a former multi-time WWE champion and one of the most physical guys ever, does that. But B, you're also trying to rebuild the titles. You can't keep hot potatoing the title
That's
like Vince
very
McMahon
true,
did
yeah.
if you're trying to reestablish this belt.
He
What
makes
about-
everything feel important. It's
Do
just
we
his
get
way
do we
is.
get a round 2? Because I hope so.
I have no idea. That all
He needs
depends on what they
Sheamus
wanna
needs
do.
to grand slam. I remember talking about this with Big Daddy Dan over on the Teen and Tights podcast.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Dan and the Tea and Tights podcast.
we need. He
Way.
needs
Can I
that
say Tea
for
and
the
Tights
grand
is a good
slam.
friend of the show, like I do every show?
He did.
When,
We
when
did.
the guy from Tea and Tights is right next to me.
Yes,
Like,
we
is
did.
that just kissing ass at that point?
Maybe a little. Yeah, but as I say, yeah, we were chatting about it, and
Excuse me,
he
we're covering
needs
a
that
British
grand
show.
slam.
Kissing arse.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
No, it's ass. It is ass. I'm okay. It's
I don't know why that's become a thing with Americans thinking that we say arse.
there are certain parts of the country that say us. It depends on where you're from. I mean, I don't understand half the people I'm around. I grew up down south. I'm living up northeast right now, and it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. I
Dialect
call where I
everywhere.
live. I call where I live mask. They call it mask.
What?
Mask.
Yes,
I've never heard that.
mask. But no, it's
But
mask.
yeah, mask is the American pronunciation. You were talking about Sheamus?
Yeah, that he only needs this last belt for his Grand Slam, and he's probably going to be taking a step back soon. So I can see why it would be a great idea to put the title on him. But I agree with Jameis. Walter makes everything feel important,
Yeah.
and to establish that belt, he's the perfect guy.
I
Maybe in a year, have Sheamus come back and win it.
my thing was the crowd. The UK crowd got nothing really.
That's
And it's
WWE, isn't it? The home crowd never
True.
gets to
They
win.
got a really good stadium show. It's
Yeah.
I'm gonna rant about the main event because we'll get to that later. But to say they got nothing because Sheamus didn't win the IC title when the story didn't call for it, and there's a lot of reasons to not put the belt on Sheamus, as much as I love Sheamus, is a gross overreaction to me. They got a really good show today. Now, the theory and like speech and debate, show business, a bunch of different mediums is the primacy recency effect. People remember the first thing they see most, and then remember the last thing they see most. So if you put a really good show in between and the others fall flat, they're going to naturally think it's not as good as a show. But you can save a bad show with a great main event.
Yeah.
I think it's accurate, and we'll get to that later. But to say they didn't get a good show today, or the UK fans got nothing.
I'm not saying they didn't get a good show, James. I'm saying they didn't get. Help me out.
The
here,
home
Andy.
crowd win. No,
Yeah,
but that's WWE. WWE never gives the home crowd that win.
I'm not saying they
even
didn't
in
get
the
a good show
States.
overall. I'm
they
saying
don't
they didn't
get the
get a
win.
moment.
Yeah, they didn't
Does that
get the
make
home.
sense?
They didn't get that home crowd win because, as you say, it's a different feeling. But WWE, as I say, they never give the hometown boy the win in his hometown. It's a crazy thing that needs to stop at some point.
It's an epidemic.
But
They started that because it was kind of getting obvious. The last two hometown crowds wins I really remember. One of them you have to go back to 2001 with Kurt Angle at Unforgiven over Austin, which only happened because 9/11 happened.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
I
was
remember
20
that.
years ago, over 20 years ago now.
Man, that pop. I remember that. That was when I was deep into WWE. Kurt Angle is the greatest wrestler to ever exist.
Kurt Angle is by far the greatest bell-to-bell wrestler to ever exist. We are 100% in agreement there, Andy. And it's not close. I'm going to get to a Kurt Angle comparison when we get to the main event. I don't think you're going to see it coming. But so I'm going to add to your Sheamus point. I'm a big Sheamus fan. Anybody who's ever talked to me about Sheamus knows I love Sheamus. I think he's the most underrated wrestler and underappreciated wrestler of this generation. The Sheamus is one of the most. I put out a tweet that said Sheamus is one of the most physical bell-to-bell wrestlers ever, and his impact on bringing the European style to the mainstream isn't spoken about enough. He'd be successful in literally any era. I'm glad he's getting the love we don't give him enough of now. To
He
elaborate on that,
rekindled that Fit Finley way of brutal wrestling, and I put out a tweet and just
Finley
said,
was my first favorite
beautiful
wrestler,
and
but
brutal.
Finley was also a lot older when he came, so he didn't get much of a push. Sheamus
That's
was
it.
the first to really make a lot of
His
noise
original
that
run though was
white
so.
noise, if you will.
I loved his original run. I know a lot of people were kind of down on it, but when he first came in and he dominated and he won the titles, I was just so. It was so amazing to see Sheamus because I'd seen him a few times on just like this independent wrestling shows on a obscure sports channel on Sky.
Sheamus can go, man. You put him against anybody, you're gonna get of their most physical match. You're going to get an entertaining match. May not be booked well, but you're going to get but that's WWE in general. You're going to get a great match every time. And Sheamus is a guy who's had his fair share of clunky stories given to him, questionable booking given to him. Like he wasn't built up when he won the title from when he won Money in the Bank, but they had to throw him in there because they needed somebody reliable when everybody was getting hurt at the time. And I feel like that run, he got a lot of hate because people didn't want to see him. Not because of anything he did, but because of what WWE wasn't doing before. And I'm glad he's had a weird run and where when everybody wants him pushed, he doesn't get pushed. But when nobody wants him pushed, he gets pushed. But he's been very influential for bringing the British scene to the States. He's been very influential and he's had a very strong career. He's been a very good worker for the 13 years he's been here. He's been a good company guy. That's a man I like to see get his flowers. And I'm glad because his body's kind of starting to give on him. So I'm glad this last little bit of run we're going to get is probably going to be booked a lot better than 5-minute matches with Ricochet every week that mean nothing. Because the reason he was pushed in 2009 was because he was Triple H's gym buddy.
I was going to say Triple H.
They're really tight. He should be booked much better under Triple H because Triple H is a big Sheamus guy.
Yeah.
So the idea, I'm hoping Sheamus continues to get a nice little flowery run because he's done a lot for the company and a lot of situations most guys wouldn't envy.
I say give it a year. Clash of the Castle 2. He takes it off Walter.
We need somebody to job to Braun Strowman in essentially a handicap match and lose to a little kid. Sheamus, I'm not going to say a word. I'm going to make it look the best I can do. That's the kind of guy you want on your team. He's been very good for them for so long, and I'm really glad Sheamus is getting that run.
Yeah,
and I hope fans start to really appreciate what they've had in Sheamus.
I agree.
They'll miss him when he's gone. Although there's a lot of great British wrestlers coming through the WWE now.
He's been the one staple that's not gone anywhere for 14 years.
That's weird.
Of the
I
product.
think he's been the one staple since I've been watching wrestling, which is quite weird.
Because you can say Jericho's been a staple in pro wrestling for the last 13 years, but Jericho, before he went to AEW, would take months off at a time to go tour. You could say Cena's been a staple, but Cena's making movies now, so Cena's no longer there.
It's almost like not because Taker's so immense, but it's almost like Taker was 20 years ago when he was just, no matter what, he was loyal to the WWE. He was never going to leave Vince.
Imagine Sheamus at AEW. I don't want to be that guy, but imagine the match, the contrast of styles of Sheamus and Darby Allin. That would be a fun match. Sheamus beating the piss out of Darby Allin. And Darby Allin selling it the way only Darby Allin can, and having that comeback story, that would be a fun match. That's probably my biggest Sheamus dream match. Weirdly enough.
To bring it back to this match in general, I'd also like to see Darby versus Volta. Even that would be fun, in my opinion.
But this match was my match of the night, personally. I get your
I know
argument.
Andy disagrees.
And I'll do my praising of that match too. But also, Tom, I'm gonna do you a favor. Evolve 106. I want to say June of 2018. Darby Allin actually defeated Walter.
What? Must find match.
Yeah, so that match has happened the one time.
Wow.
But I just
Is it on the network?
I'm not even going to watch that, and I'm not even going to talk about the questionable booking of having Darby Allin go over Walter.
I think I already found it.
Just
when he was Google. I'll send it to you after.
Thank you.
That's it. You bring in that's typical indie booking. Bring in a big international star and have your star go over him. So
they do
it in the UK. They do it in the UK. They bring over the big US star and they have the UK star go over him. Sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah, Walter had a very good run in Evolve. He worked like 20 matches with them. He won the Progress World Atlas title.
He had epic matches with Matt Riddle, who we'll be talking about in a little while.
Yeah, he had a great match with Sabre. He won. I think the only other person to beat him one-on-one in Evolve, other than Matt Riddle, Darby Allin, and Keith Lee, was Adam Cole, and it was a title match.
Wait, we saw Keith Lee versus Volta.
So in 20 one-on-one matches, he won 16 of them. I don't think Evolve necessarily misbooked.
No.
Walter, but that's a different podcast for a different day.
You know, at the time he was the top star in Germany and
WXW,
working his way as the top, almost not quite the top star in Progress yet, because even Progress did the same thing. They brought Walter over, despite him being a top star in Germany. They had the UK guys go over him.
But this match got 20 minutes and it was physical. It was everything I wanted. And Sheamus may not have that much mileage left, but he could still get the best match of the night on any given night. And this match delivered. And Walter beat. I love the detail of Sheamus's knee giving out on him as he went for the bro kick. But Walter beating him on a lariat did more than him beating him on a powerbomb would have done. Walter hit so hard he knocked out Sheamus.
I love the fact Walter he rarely ever uses the same finish. Time after time, he just mixes it up. 1 minute he'll use the powerbomb, next match will be finished with the sleeper, then it'll be the clothesline, then it'll be the splash. I love the way Walter does that. Keeps the fans guessing.
It also makes false finishes mean more, because if next time he hits the lariat, you're going to go, oh, that's it.
Yeah,
and that's something I'll get. That's an issue I'll get to with my with the Seth Rollins match, which we'll get to. Next on the card was, I think, her best match to date. Liv Morgan versus Shayna Baszler.
Yeah,
100%. Since last time I checked in on WWE, she has come miles and miles and miles and miles. She is really getting a fantastic little run, and she did look really great. I love Shayna Baszler. She's my favorite women's wrestler right now.
I'm in a weird place because Shayna was at one point my favorite female wrestler in wrestling. But
that NXT run.
Shayna Baszler needs to win this title sooner rather than later. But you couldn't put her over here, because the story they're telling on Friday nights is Liv Morgan got lucky against Ronda Rousey, and after last night's promo with Adam Pearce, it seems like they're setting up a double turn where Ronda becomes the face and Liv Morgan. That's when you revisit Shayna Baszler and put the belt on Baszler after. I'd probably save that for Mania. But Shayna Baszler needs to win that belt soon. It just doesn't make sense with the story of Liv ducking Ronda Rousey for Liv Morgan to lose before Ronda Rousey's suspension is lifted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was a fun little match. But everything Liv Morgan did looked really smooth.
Massive.
I liked,
and of course, the way Shayna Baszler sells her arm on the Kirifuda clutch. It reminds me of, I forget which takeover event it was, because she worked Ember at multiple takeovers. But She had a
Either
match with Ember Moon.
Philadelphia or New Orleans.
She worked Ember at a takeover. And Ember had damaged the arm the entire match. So she couldn't lock in the Karafuda clutch. So she grabbed her own hair and used it to lock the hold in instead of her own arm. And Nigel calls it out because Nigel's a stickler for small details. You see a live Nigel Baguettes. And
I've seen it done by a few different people on the independents using that type of technique to get the finish.
It does a great job selling the arm.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of thing that Shayna Baszler did tonight. But obviously, she didn't need to lock it in because she wasn't going to win. So
yeah,
and it's just those small details that make Shayna Baszler so head and heels above everybody else.
Definitely, but as you say, she needs to win that title soon because her run hasn't been the best, and it just feels like she needs something to reestablish her.
You don't have much time left with Shayna Baszler either.
That's it. She's
How old is she?
She's at least I think she's 42.
I was gonna say she must be,
which is old historically for a woman in professional wrestling. Like, their careers are typically shorter than the men. Now, I would love to see Shayna Baszler work till she's in her 50s, like a Minoru Suzuki. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Why not?
Imagine her going on a Murder Grandma run in 10 years. That would be awesome.
She absolutely could because, the style that she works, it's not like she's going to pick up huge amounts of injuries.
Right.
So she really could go on for as long as we want. She could, Mako. She could look at Mako still going strong.
Oh, I'm excited for that triple threat match tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dude, I think B. Priestley wins it too.
Yeah, I think she's been thrown in there to be the spoiler and to have neither of Mandy or Mako win.
Oh, I think B. Priestley was thrown in there so they could put the belt on her, and she's gonna pin Mako so that they can move up Mandy without.
Yeah, that's it.
Mandy taking the heat.
B is amazing, and it's a shame she had that freak injury against Mako for NXT UK that took her out for so long.
Right. So
hopefully, we'll see her come up as champ.
Worlds Collide. I'll be doing the live tweeting tomorrow on my red account.
I'll keep an eye on it because I will be watching it.
Be sure if you're listening to go check that out. But from there, what did you think of this match, Tom? Because you've not been privy to much of this conversation.
Again, it's so hard for me because the Shayna Baszler I know is the ass kicker from NXT. I've not seen a lot of her main roster run because I've been very out of the WWE since the pandemic, and I'm almost I'm at a weird stage where almost I root for the heels. So I really wanted Shayna to win. So that deflated me a little bit. But overall, very good match.
I have a question. Is it Wrestle Watch Pod?
Yes.
Okay. I'm making a banner real quick and I couldn't remember what.
Yeah. Because it's 3. Oh, wait. No. Sorry. It's Wrestle Watch Podcast, but Wrestle Watch Pod on Twitter.
Oh, that is convoluted. Anyway, continue.
Only because the Wrestle Watch Podcast already exists and we can't claim that as our own.
We were talking about Shayna Baszler and you were rooting for.
I'm just a bit again, I'm not the biggest fan of your underdog babyface. So I was very much I would like Shayna to win this. So again, we're going to talk about with the main event, I was very deflated by the ending. But overall, very good match.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I'm at the point now where I'd much rather see Shayna with the belt as opposed to Liv Morgan, but I don't think it made sense in the story they're telling. So I'm glad they didn't do it just because I would rather see Shayna Baszler as champion long term. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, but where do they go from here then?
I've already kind of laid it out. She didn't beat Ronda.
I know where they go for Ronda and Liv, but what about Shayna?
You can. They need to map out a plan for the women because this is exactly what happens with every woman after they lose their title match. They just fade away.
Honestly, I think put her in a tag team with Ronda. Drop Ronda going after the main. Let somebody else do it for a
You
little
just
while.
have Shayna beat people every week until you're ready to throw her back in there. Maybe throw her in on a Survivor Series team. If Ronda's not back for Extreme Rules, maybe do a rematch for Extreme Rules. Put in like a cage or something. So
No, you can't have her lose again, so you can't have her do the rematch. You gotta, as you say, you gotta keep her apart. Have her just have simple wins over SmackDown.
Put her on
Have
a
Ronda
Survivor
come in.
Series team in
Ronda
November.
wins.
Have her run through a whole team by herself. That would do a lot for Shayna Baszler.
Yeah.
And then when Ronda wins, you have Shayna win the Rumble if you want to do that Mania match. Though I'd personally do Ronda versus Becky at Mania. But you have options regardless.
No,
But
we've
still a
seen
fun
that
match.
enough, man.
Yeah, and Mania.
enough.
I actually, you just said it. I want Ronda versus Shayna for Mania.
Here's the
I
issue.
want Becky doing something else.
You've never had Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey 1-on-1, and it's the most money match you
I
can
swear
get with
we have.
anybody.
Yeah, no,
with
you're
Ronda
right. It was
Rousey.
Charlotte last time, wasn't it? So.
Oh,
And then when Becky pinned her, her shoulder was up. So you have the out of Becky didn't actually beat her. And so there's a lot more money in Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch than any other match heading into Mania. And they missed it this year. I don't think Triple H misses that match. That's the only reason I'm questioning Shayna versus Ronda at Mania, which I do think would be very interesting.
I mean, you could still do Becky and Ronda the year after, as you say. Shayna's on maybe got less time on her
limited time.
Say the limited time compared to Becky and Ronda. So
You know what Ronda match I'm upset we haven't gotten yet? There was one match when she signed I wanted to see. Only one.
What's that one?
Ronda versus Asuka.
How have we not seen that yet? That's a very good point.
Done that. Jesus.
Like that would be a stiff match.
That's
man.
crazy, man. They need to do that soon.
The next match on the card was Edge and Rey Mysterio, former tag team champions. Who'd they beat last time for them? Because Edge alluded to, we beat you for the tag champions to Kurt Angle, but she didn't say his partner.
Curtin. I see.
I know exactly who they beat.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
I can't remember.
It was Benoit, Andy.
Of course it was. Yeah, when they were on that monster.
That's why they only mentioned Kurt Angle.
Jesus, that was so good. But yeah, can't.
They wrestled the Judgment Day, specifically Damian Priest and Finn
I'm
Balor.
going to be honest, guys. I am out of this conversation for now, purely because my Uber Eats showed up when this match was on, so I did not see a lot of it.
Ha! No worries. What I'm going to say is it was a fun match. It was an entertaining match. It was good, the Edge and thing. But
before we get there, I love the callback of that corner thing they used to do where Edge is like, hey, go in the corner so I don't take the bump. And yeah, that's an old rocker spot that they had taken from when they teamed for that month and a half period.
Pretty Deadly used that spot. And so Grizzled Young Veterans and Pretty Deadly use that spot as well quite often.
Yeah, Pretty Deadly's great. I hope Pretty Deadly wins tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, damn right.
I need you on an episode of NXT 2.0 post show just so you can tell me how much you hate the dyad.
I will do an NXT. Maybe we could sort something out after the Collide then. And after
because
Collide,
you
do
know
the
who
first
the dyad
NXT.
is, right?
Who? Oh, yeah, no. Look,
it's Grizzled Young Veterans.
I know. What? Possessed?
They're possessed by the cult leader Joe Gacy. And then
what?
I mean, I can understand if they were just following him as cult members, but they're possessed. Oh, don't even get me started.
I don't know how to describe it, but what they did with what's his name's eyes?
Yeah, they got the. I saw the Twitter photo.
Not James Drake.
They've each got one opposite.
I can't think of it. Zach Gibson. Zach Gibson's eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, they did one. They had one eye each. It's like the opposite eye. So, because honestly, that is just ridiculous. You need me on because bring me on NXT 2.0 because I want to rant about how they are destroying. I'm joking. It needs to be done. In fact,
So you were saying about this match.
it was good. It was fun, but it was, what I thought would have been really, really interesting and a great way to go is have Edge was doing this all as a ploy to destroy Ray and take Dominic, and you could have had Edge turn, put him back into charge of Judgment Day, have him take Dominic under his wing, have him bury Rey Mysterio somehow, and then you've got a Luger Hill stable.
My issue with
that's too convoluted for one.
Edge. I'm the biggest Edge fan you'll ever meet. He's a top 3 favorite of mine of all time. I have 7 Edge shirts sitting in my closet from all throughout his career. I'm a huge Edge fan, okay? I'm a big Edge head, I should say. The one thing of Edge's career I absolutely did not enjoy a single part of was Judgment Day. And I'll tell you why. He would cut the most radar superstar style promo, and with the presentation of Judgment Day, would not work. Not a single thing he did, and as a member of Judgment Day, hit with me. I thought it was the most forced farce of Edge's career. Like, okay, you're this new character. You shop at Hot Topic. Awesome. Why are you cutting the same promo in the same cadence as this Dark Lord? Whatever. It does not work. You have to change your promo style, and he's too far into his career to change his promo style.
The thing with WWE is when wrestlers get to a certain age in the twilight of their career, they don't think they can be heels anymore. They think there's too much goodwill, there's too much fanfare, there's too much nostalgia.
This man came back from a almost life-ending injury.
Yeah.
Like,
how they wanted to recapture the Brood, but it didn't work.
Unless he's not back yet, and Becky takes a shot at it, then we're gonna cheer the shot that Becky takes because Becky's awesome.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I guess because the reason I'm saying that is just because even from the outside, not watching it properly, it seems boring, and as you say, it seems lackluster. And I think it needed something to really bring some life back into it. And to just have Dominic turn on him at the end for no reason afterwards, it made absolutely zero sense. So good match, but end.
Did y'all see my tweet?
I did not.
So I put out a tweet after the heel turn. I clipped the 2-second blip of Joe Pesci in Home Alone. Why the hell did you take your shoes off? Right before Marv asks him, why the hell are you dressed like a chicken? Because I looked at it during the whole heel turn. I was like, this is really good, like the execution. Other than him taking his shoes off, and I'm laughing at him taking his shoes off. I said to myself, why the hell did he take his shoes off? And then I went, that's totally a line from Home Alone. So I clipped it, and I tweeted out me at Dominic. Hashtag WWE Clash at WWE Castle, and it's just Terry and Home Alone saying, why the hell did you take your shoes
off?
I've
got a tweet like that a bit later when we get to the Seth Rollins match.
So
it almost it made no sense to do the turn in then and there. For it had zero payoff for me. It just, as I say, just absolute.
So I thought it was a fine match. The next match was a really good match.
Next match was for me night of the match.
Then I'll let you take it from here. Give me all your thoughts.
It was,
Before we do that, can I just say something about the entrance attire that I put a tweet up about? I don't know if you saw it.
Oh God, yes.
John.
Did you see this?
I did.
Why? Well, I mean, I guess it's just Seth, he's so outrageous. He's got to look outrageous at all
I
times.
take it you two have seen the film Rocket Man, then, right?
Well, I was waiting for a message on Saturday.
No, I don't. Rocket Man. It's an old Disney film. I remember it, but I can't remember.
It's the biopic of Elton John, man.
All right, but it was just absolutely outrageous. He just dresses for because he does it because you're going to talk about it.
I know I've seen that outfit somewhere before, and then I was like, I googled it and was like, oh, that's an Elton John outfit from Rocket Man, and then I was like, oh, sorry, the tweet came to me, and I was like, Seth Rollins doing his best Elton John, Taron Egerton Rocket Man impression. But sorry, Andy, continue. Like, that did make me laugh, though.
You know, I think we all saw it. The Raw promos, the supposed no longer on air.
You know what I loved about that?
It felt real.
Not Seth casually saying, they don't want to see your bitch ass no more. The way he casually said bitch ass really made me corpse. But what I loved about that is the idea that historically, if people are screen to screen, once they're off air, they don't have any beef. Like, they cameras caught everything. Seth going, hey, you still there? And then getting personal made it feel more authentic. Like, you're saving the good stuff for after the cameras are off.
And it carried into this match. You felt the heat between them. You felt like they really wanted to tear each other apart. And the way that Seth Rollins played with Riddle made him get angry and just kept making Riddle make mistake after mistake, in which he would take advantage of. This was, for me, the match of the night. I think Seth Rollins is arguably one of the best wrestlers in the world today, and this match was fantastic. This was a Riddle's no slouch, and it showed in this match. You know, they came to play, and they played. It was amazing. I loved it. And,
as I say, I think it's a match that I need to rewatch just because I wasn't paying 100% attention because I was still eating at this point, and it was like, from what I did see, I was like, chef's kiss, amazing. But for me, I think me and you, I tweeted this at you. Like, for me personally, it was Volta versus Sheamus.
Yeah,
and I still hold that up, but I fully respect your opinion.
I think it's just, as I say, the lack of that big story and authenticity that the Riddle and Seth Rollins match had. For me, that's why it was a better match overall.
Yeah, a great match is a great match, but it doesn't mean you're going to remember it if you're not invested heading into the match.
That is very true. Yeah. From bell to bell, in my personal opinion, Gunther Sheamus was the best match. But from a story perspective added into the match, I agree with you. Rollins, Riddle.
But you have to remember wrestling about the storytelling.
True. That is very true.
As I say, I just think Seth is, he is arguably one of the best wrestlers in the world, and Riddle is really, really right.
I was having this argument with Corey a couple of weeks ago, but shout out to Corey Brennan. Was going to be on, but some stuff came up. We hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah. Indeed.
But we were arguing over, how big of a Kenny Omega fan I am. Everybody knows. I'm not. And then he also Will Ospreay, who's killing it around the world right now. So we were arguing over, of the three, who's the best wrestler in the world. And my pick was Seth Rollins. And I'll tell you why. I think the consistent quality of Kenny and Ospreay's matches are better right now, but they don't have to deal with the amount of restrictions put on Seth Rollins. And the fact he's having consistent matches, that puts him in the conversation when no other WWE wrestler is even in the conversation.
Yeah.
Makes what he's doing that much more impressive.
Yeah.
I can see the reasoning behind that, but I'm British, so Will Ospreay, bruv.
Kenny Omega's better, bro.
No, me and Dan have been arguing this one for the last.
Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay.
Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. I keep calling him a traitor because he thinks it's Kenny Omega. I think it's Will Ospreay.
The real argument for Ospreay right now, and just hit him with this, is you can't be the best wrestler in the world when you haven't worked for a year.
That is a very good point, but you can't be the best wrestler in the world without a long history and a back catalogue of fantastic and amazing stuff.
Omega has that.
Exactly. So even if he hasn't been for a year, he's still got all that catalogue. So he's still always going to be in the conversation for best wrestler in the world. Yeah. Till he retires, till he actively retires, he's going to. And even after he's retired, you're still going to be saying, was he one of the best in the world ever?
There's two things about how this match would work, Riddle versus Seth. One, I really need Seth Rollins to either hit. I get you've been saving it for a big match, the Phoenix Splash, but you've had 7 years of big matches now and you still haven't hit it. Hit it once, so I don't know that you're going to miss the move every single time you go for it.
Look, I'm sure the restriction's been pulled now. The restriction's surely going to be pulled now. I'm sure he's going to hit it at WrestleMania. Remember, Vince banned the 450 at one point and said, "Do you really think he was ever going to let us a backflip 450?"
Seth Rollins, what was his injury when he was champion?
It was his shoulder injury, wasn't it?
He blew out his knee doing a flip off
from a buckle bomb.
Oh yeah, the buckle bomb.
No, it wasn't a buckle bomb. He did a sunset flip.
And
blew out his knee on the landing.
Finn Balor had the injury with the shoulder because of Seth Rollins, and then it was a flip over
when Seth was champion. That cost him. That made him vacate the title. His injury was he blew out his knee coming off in an awkward position on a flip off the top rope. So you would rather have him do come off in an awkward position and roll through on a flip off the top rope every night than hit a Phoenix Splash once?
No. I want him to hit that Phoenix Splash. I'm just saying it's bloody WWE.
The restrictions. It's dumb. Like, don't tease it if you're never going to do it. Because, A, the fan who watched you enough knows you ain't going to hit it. So it telegraphs the spot, it telegraphs the match, and makes the match a lot less investing. But B, the injury risk that comes in a spot like that, especially for a guy who's been injured in a similar way before. And
that's true.
He's one of your main players. He's top of the card for 10 years. You've invested a lot in him. I just don't get why he does that every match. I think
because it's not the injury to him, but it's the injury to the person who receives it. Because it's a blind dive, you can land very awkwardly. Now, I'm not saying Seth would ever do it, because Seth has massively done it brilliantly every time, but you think of the times RVD nearly killed Triple H in the Elimination Chamber match with a goddamn frog splash, and then I think it was Justin Gabriel who had the 450 ban because he landed badly on somebody's throat.
You can land awkward on anything. It's wrestling.
You could, but but that's the reason. It's that blind dive. But as I say, the restrictions are pulled now.
Then don't
know what they're allowed to say wrestler now
because it takes me out of every Seth Rollins match, and I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. But that's
like going for the pin after a signature move. You know,
but
oh my God, he's hit the pedigree. He's going to go for the pin, and you know he's
never
going to win.
It's not a move. It's just a transition because they go right into the next spot. It's not a move if he's never connected with it.
Yeah, I give you that. But as I say, if you're not, it's just like a signature move. Like when you hit the Whisper in the Wind by Jeff Hardy. Oh my God, he's going for the pin. Nobody kicks out of the Whisper in the Wind. No, everybody kicks out of the Whisper in the Wind.
Yeah.
It's like Sami Zayn hitting the Blue Thunder Bomb and then asking how it was too.
It's come on, let people win with. That's why I love Walter winning with a different move pretty much every time. Because you never know when the win's going to happen. It makes the false finishes feel so much more.
That goes back to the earlier point about Walter, too. Is you never know what's going to finish his match because he doesn't win with the same thing every time.
That's it. So I love that. And as I say...
And that's a great detail about Walter's work. My
Definitely.
other thing about this match, I love that the finish was Riddle got so out of his element and off his game that he didn't get beat. He got overzealous, and that's why he got beat.
Seth Rollins knows that Riddle is MMA. He's a badass. He knew he couldn't beat him without throwing him off his game. He knew I'm the better professional wrestler. I'm the better sports entertainer, if you really want to steal a Chris Jericho thing right now, than Riddle is. So I'm going to be able to throw him off his game. High praise for it.
So, heading into that, we get to the main event. And I've got a lot
Here
to say. I'll
go.
start with the good. I'm going to start with the good. And then I'm going to go into the bad. And then I'll ask for y'all's thoughts. The good. A really strong match. Like, it opened with a really strong collar and elbow tie-up. I talk about it with Dax Harwood a lot, especially on Twitter. If you're going to do a spot like that for a feeling out process, actually feel the guy out.
Yeah.
If you're going through the motions to get to your spot, it doesn't work. But a tight, strong collar and elbow tie-up that has a little extra oomph to it goes a long way in the subtle details of a match. That was really good. I really like that. I really like that they didn't let each other do stuff like on the suplex spot. Okay, this isn't working. Let me hit him instead.
I will tell you honestly that, I prefer that opening, as you say, the Riddle and Seth Rollins locking up and doing the thing, than, say, a Will Ospreay, Rey Fénix.
I do too.
Flippy do.
Like, they're great
not
workers
flippy, but,
until you get them together with no contrast in styles. Because, sure, it's cool, but it makes no sense.
Yeah. I'm a bit more old
and
school with
that's coming
things.
from a big Rey Fénix fan. That's why I prefer Pentagon. I think Penta's a better worker.
Yeah, he
Rey
is.
Fénix
He's
can
not
do
as
cool
exciting.
stuff.
But
Rey Fénix can do cooler stuff, but Pentagon Jr. is a better worker by a lot.
100%. Indeed, I'm right there with you with
But
that.
that's a different rant, and this is an AEW show. So why am I talking about Penta? Also?
Why does he go into the most random rants?
He mentioned Rey Fénix, but you should have seen me one time. I'm gonna tell a non-wrestling, well, kind of. It's a body related story. One time, Cass and I were doing an interview with one of the indie workers in the States. Shout out to Sam Stackhouse, good friend of all of my shows. So we were doing an interview with them, and somehow Ronda Barber's name came up, former safety for the Bucks, nose tackle, and so he played a couple of different positions throughout his career. He primarily played cornerback. He moved to safety for a season, but he's the best cornerback of his generation. He's like the only player with like 40 interceptions and 20 sacks in NFL history. Ooh. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. So Ronda Barber's name somehow came up, and I went on a rant about how he's the greatest cornerback ever and how he's not in the Hall of him not being in the Hall of Fame. It's a joke. And that's the most random rant I've ever gone on a Body show.
Fair enough.
But I'm from Tampa. Of course, my favorite cornerback is Ronda Barber.
100.
So, all right.
Sorry.
You're good, man. Not your fault.
Classic live broadcast.
Hey, we're live, pal. Anything can happen. So I said earlier
that I was going to
make a comparison with Drew McIntyre to Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best false finish I've ever seen will forever be Kurt Angle in the way he kicks out. You could never tell that he was following the ref's arm, but he always seemed to time it exactly at the very last millisecond. So it's too late for him to kick out. It's over, even if you kind of knew.
Best
it doesn't logically make sense.
Angle is in Mania 21 when Shawn Michaels kicks him. And then
not even close, which is scary considering that's an all-time great false finish.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
I do. When he's holding Sean's face and he's shouting at him, Sean kicks him out of nowhere and falls into the cover.
Yeah.
But the way Angle falls back on that is perfect because he takes a really flat back bump from his feet, which you don't see much. But I could talk for days about how good Kurt Angle is. But he has the best false finish ever. Of anybody, it's not close. Drew McIntyre is the best false finish in wrestling today. He's not as good as Kurt Angle, but he kicks out the same way. And that's such a small fundamental that nobody's going to think of. Oh, how good is their false finish? So nobody's ever going to go, oh, Drew McIntyre's false finishes are fantastic. But
only you, Jameis, will, because I'll be honest.
It's such a small thing that pulls out more drama. The ability to pull out more drama on a false finish, especially for viewers like us who have watched a long time, where we can look at a false finish and go, that's not it. It's too early in the match. The idea of getting that much out of it to where maybe it's it in the split second before he kicks out is such a crucial thing to putting the best match on possible. And Drew McIntyre is so good at that. And I think that I just wanted to throw that out there because that's something that we as fans take for granted. And he needs pride for every false finish in that match tonight.
I'll say that.
What?
I bit on a lot of the false finishes tonight. As if
I never bite on false finishes, and they got me to bite. And that's exactly what I need out of my pro wrestling.
Like when he hit that Superman punch while he had gone 1, 2, 3 first time, I thought no, and then obviously
Roman never would go Superman punch. That's how good Drew McIntyre is at building the drama throughout his matches, and that's what makes him such a great. People are never going to put Drew Galloway in the best wrestler in the world conversation. I'll go ahead and say he's top 10 in the world right now.
He's in mine.
Because of small details like that.
Always going to be in the top 10. You have to. You can't deny it. His just success rate, if you like a bit more of a brutal battle. Yeah, he's not... the one thing he lacks is that excitement that guys like Kenny and Will can bring to their matches, and Seth Rollins. And that's maybe where he can't get in the conversation. But it's strange because Walter can get in that conversation, to be honest with me, because everything he does is just brilliant. But Drew would definitely still be high on my list.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that out there. That was a great match. I loved his entrance.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Which I'm glad I much prefer Broken Dreams as a theme.
I didn't like it.
The theme doesn't make sense for where Drew McIntyre's character is currently at. So I'm glad they used Broken Dreams as this is his story, and this is how we got here, and then they went into his entrance. I thought that was a nice touch. So you give the fans what they're clamoring for just because they like the song. You remind everybody of the road to get here in the underdog story, which was the story heading into the match, and then you get his big entrance.
I really like the way they use Broken Dreams. Is that because it's a Jim Johnson theme? And
no, they played it tonight.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why has he never just had it back?
Because it doesn't fit his character anymore. That's not it fit his character then. His character is completely different now. It's a great song. It's a much better song than what he has now. But the song he has now fits his character more. It's like
Will Ospreay right now. Elevation was an amazing from Will Ospreay. But
it's like CM Punk. I much prefer my least favorite CM Punk theme is Cult of Personality. I really liked his ROH AFI theme. I popped when I was in attendance when he brought that back, but that needed to be a one-off because the AFI theme doesn't fit him anymore. It's like one of my favorite themes of all time is his Kill Switch theme, which I think I mentioned both on our interview, Tom. Like
you did, my friend. I think
the Kill Switch theme is a much better theme and song than the Living Color song, but it doesn't fit his character anymore. So why would he use it? So it's like one of those when just because a theme's better doesn't mean, or I like a theme more doesn't mean I think the wrestler should bring it back. Like my favorite Edge theme is the Rob Zombie theme, but you can never change it from Alter.
Is that never gonna stop?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but they should never change it from Alter Bridge. It's too iconic. It fits his character. Why change it? Just because I like a song more.
No, it's definitely understandable. As I was saying, Will Ospreay, he went from Elevation to what he's using now as the Kingpin. I loved Elevation. It was an amazing song. It just so suited his character at that time. But once he became the Kingpin, the new song, it sounds more epic, but it's not as good. Yeah. And I get what you're saying 100%.
So there was a lot to like about this match. There was a lot to dislike.
Yep.
you've been building this Drew
Well,
McIntyre
there's-
story a
Yeah.
lot more than any other story in wrestling. He hasn't got his moment in front of fans, and you go to his hometown. He's the reason not many people pack the building.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. And
Yeah, not Roman.
he's doing better numbers with his segment ratings, with his merch than anybody else. You have nowhere to go with Roman Reigns now.
Mm.
And you haven't had the belts on television a lot recently. And the idea of Drew finally gets his moment in front of the sun. He's now here when he's here. And
Yeah.
he's making the money hand over fist. You pull the trigger here because you don't have an obvious direction for Roman. The story ran its course a year and a half ago. And people's interest in the story is waning as is. You can take out because Jimmy Uso can't travel overseas right now. You can kind of go use the Roman, oh, can I do it without them story.
That
once
was
he
fine.
loses.
I enjoyed that.
Hold on.
I've
got a lot to say. Can I just get it out real quick?
Go.
So everything here, people are more behind Drew than they will be for anybody else with this Roman story.
Mm.
And you go in, you have the ability to make headwaves rarely on the first show in 30 years in this country. And you have Drew Galloway lose.
Is that
Hold on.
is
Not
it
only did Drew Galloway lose, losing is one thing. You're so Drew Galloway doesn't care, and he's out there singing. He's singing after it.
Yeah.
This man just lost his dream in the story and everything he'd been working for, and he doesn't give a damn. Not only did you bury your title and bury the importance of Roman's loss whenever he does lose, but you just ruined Drew McIntyre's character, his drive, his goal in one shot with the loss because of how you followed up with it.
Yeah.
He should not have been laughing, singing. Oh, you like Oasis? Cool. Don't cater to people who like Oasis. You just lost what you've been working for.
I mean, he could have at least Claymored Tyson. He could have just Claymored Tyson, gone into a program with Tyson or something. But yeah,
Or
you're
at least
100%
Glasgow
right.
kissed him.
He's got nothing to go to now. What do you do?
They buried his goal as a character. They completely jumped the shark as his character. They buried the titles, and they just made Roman Reigns lost meaningless because of everything I just mentioned. When he does lose. What was the point? Because if the idea is we need to send this crowd home happy, and it goes back to if the idea is they're not going to have fun if Roman loses, then maybe that's not the kind of heat Roman should be getting, and maybe that's your sign. Maybe if people are upset when they leave the show in a non-heel heat way, that he's not working as champion anymore.
Question.
And if you have to, you book this huge show for the first time in 30 years, and you're worried that somebody winning is going to make them hate the show they attended, maybe that guy shouldn't be your face right now. Because that's not how you book. And it did more damage than it did any good for everybody involved and every prop involved.
I mean, I don't know how, because I wasn't there 100% live, because I was just watching it on the network. I think, regardless of the result, the fans were going to be happy. It was an incredible show. It was the first time they had been in the WWE.
That's not me hating Roman thing, because I actually like Roman and his work. Just want to throw that out there.
But you're right. I don't know where do you go now? The only thing I can think of is you have Drew 100% disappear from here until the Royal Rumble. You have him win the Royal Rumble. You have him then go on to face Roman at WrestleMania. But no doubt they want to do The Rock at some point.
Here's the thing: if The Rock is who beats Roman Reigns for the first time in 2.5 years.
I don't think he'll beat him, but they want to do it.
That's the biggest mistake they could make, because people are going to tune in for The Rock versus Roman, regardless of the title, because it's The Rock.
Yeah.
If you've had Roman dominate your entire roster and the only person who beats him is a 50-year-old actor.
No,
That
no,
buries
I
your
just say
entire roster for
you have
after
him
2.5
win.
years.
Yeah, have Roman win. You can't have Roman lose to The Rock. I'm
But
trying to.
he has
The
no
only
other
person.
stories after Mania. You can barely stretch it out from now till Mania, much less after.
Because what? I mean, are you going to somehow turn him face and have Walter? Or are you going to try and turn Walter face?
Because
and
you could probably, right now, you could probably get a match with Seth in because there's an easy pivot there. He
It's
didn't
been
beat Seth
done.
last time.
Did he not beat him last time?
At the Rumble, it was a disqualification and Seth won, and then they never revisited it. So you could probably
Okay, so
get
they
that
could
in
go
there.
that way.
You could probably get a one-off with Cross because the story calls for it. And then from there, he's part-time, so he takes time off TV. Save Seth the Rumble, do Cross at Survivor Series. But then you have to have him lose at whoever's Mania because there's no other story direction of people he hasn't beaten. So Cody Rhodes is probably winning the Rumble, and Roman Reigns is probably losing to Cody Rhodes, which I'm cool with. I think the story's there. I think that's something that could get people very invested. And establishing Cody as the prodigal son is in fact who he says he is a great thing to do. The issue is
How do you get there? What are you going to do till then?
You either don't have the belts on for months heading into your biggest season of the year, or you tell mediocre stories.
I hate both of them.
I don't like it.
Maybe they're going to go Drew and Cross for a little while whilst Romans takes a break. Then but
then give Drew the belt.
I just don't know who. As you say, they want it to keep it on him so they can do Rhodes. So that's why they didn't take it off him. If you take it off him,
put it back on him later.
No, because then you've already diminished that he's beatable. So you can't have him beaten until you get to WrestleMania, until you get to Rhodes.
You could have had Theory cash in, Drew beat Theory, and then Roman's never beaten.
Yeah, and then you could have had Roman go after.
And then you still get the pop for Drew. Everybody was clamoring for.
You could give Drew a 2-month run, have him defeat Cross, and then have him lose to Roman. Yeah, so
Roman still keeps his heat, but Drew gets more heat than he has now.
That's how I would have done it, but it's the WWE. I mean, don't get me wrong. I popped when Tyson Fury did knock him out because it was
that was funny.
You ain't doing the Seth Rollins.
I think he's an awful human being.
As you mentioned, but
that was funny, and I like the camera work that I couldn't see it was Tyson Theory. You want to know what my one issue with that spot was?
What?
Where the hell was security? I realized Tyson Fury's a plant. I'm not dumb, but tell a tighter story with it because if a fan,
he's on the roster.
If a fan, no, he's not. He did a one-off, but he's not on the roster. He was there as a fan, and if a fan were to punch Austin Theory in the face, the fan would be arrested.
Well, it's Tyson Fury, and they went, "Yeah, I ain't touching that."
At least cry. At least make it come across like a baby legit. You know?
No.
You're gonna do it.
This is British security. They went, "Nope, I didn't see a thing."
Andy, back me up on this. The British airports, trust me.
Yeah, didn't see a thing.
Yeah.
No one wants to mess with Tyson Fury, so that's the reason security can get involved.
Am I wrong?
No, I see what you mean.
The Drew thing completely ruined his motive as a character. It ruined his character because now he doesn't care. He's going to lose the biggest match of his career, and he's going to sing Oasis. I like Oasis. I like the album What's the Story, Morning Glory. But what the hell is the story here? Because Drew doesn't have any Morning Glory right now.
Yeah, and he's probably going to lose to Cross next as well.
And it buried the titles in the process and made the next Reigns match meaningless because of how they followed it up. Drew winning was bad, but I can get over a misbooked match after a really good match. I can't get over what they finished with, and it made it.
When you said Drew winning, did you mean Roman winning?
Yeah, I think he did.
That's what I meant.
But I think because, as you say, when Progress back in early, when they had this amazing the guy that he was a heel, he won every time, but they send the crowd home happy because they always had a segment after the win that would make sure that the heel got his comeuppance, and that's
know
what
I
they
love
didn't do here.
Claymore him.
You
And
know
we
I
went
love
into
progress.
Extreme Rules. I could have lived with that.
You know I love progress.
Yeah.
But this isn't me crapping on progress or the indies, because I love the indies. You can watch me this upcoming Monday with Ash Nova and Queen of the Indies Tiff as we cover all things independent wrestling the last 2 weeks. We've got a really good show, so be sure to check that out. Sorry, natural segue for a plug, but I'll always do my plugs. Shout out to both of them. Ash is actually going to be on our Body Slam All Out watch along or post show, whatever. Not watch along, because I'm doing the post show and I know she's not on it. Next week during the or tomorrow during the Motor City Machine Guns match. So be sure to watch that too. Bad Blood, all of them do great work. Be sure to check out their watch along on all Body Slam platforms and the Pro Roundtable Twitch. But I love progress and all. Independent show, stadium show with the biggest company in the world, and
they didn't have the segment that would send the crowd home happy.
Are
I know, and we, as the Brits, we love to have a good old sing-along, but I do agree.
Yeah,
it fell flat.
I do agree.
You needed Tyson Fury to pump kick
if Bryan Danielson
Fury
had
in the
done a
face.
sing-along at WrestleMania after they lost the triple threat match, that would have been ridiculous.
It needed something, and they didn't deliver.
Even though everybody was behind Danielson and Edge, and nobody popped for Roman winning in Tampa. I was there, I know, but nobody liked it. But everybody still had a good time. You don't need to follow up with it. If you really thought that would ruin the event that you've spent 30 years building toward for the audience to have a guy win, maybe don't have him win.
I think what they should have done is cut the pay-per-view and then done that whole sing-along.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
Like AEW does. It's like that's what they should have done, because as you say, doing it during the event live like that sucked ass. It made Drew look like a complete nothing.
It's
like
the fact
nothing
that
matters.
It's canon now as well.
And as you say, everyone's
and
remember
there's no payoff to it. It's not like he claymored Tyson Fury and gave him a Glasgow kiss to set up a match after the sing-along. Tyson Fury just decided to sing along with it and shake both guys' hands. Like, what's the payoff?
Why did he shake the heel's hand? That was very confusing.
It was confusing.
It was like what Mr. Corey Gray said, who just constantly points out the obvious. But yeah, it was the champion showing a champion respect, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So that's
but still stupid and still sucked ass.
Yeah. It's a champion of two different sports coming together and saying, you're a champion of your sport, I'm a champion of my sport, I respect you.
Which is really weird, because you don't see Nikita Kucherov going up to Ozzy Albies and shaking the guy's hand because one's a Stanley Cup champion and one's a World Series champion.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
It's
like not something that happens in any other sport except combat sports. I don't get it.
In combat sports, there's a lot more respect for your opponent due to the disciplines
also the fact
that they learn,
as opposed to a solo sport. But
that's it. I think it's
what I'm trying to say. Like
you learn a different discipline, and you learn much more about respect in fighting than you do going to play for American football.
Yeah.
Well, the sports I mentioned were American hockey and American baseball, but yeah.
Well, I would mention British soccer, and it would still be the same thing.
Yeah,
and you don't go right over everyone's head except for yours.
You don't see Sergio Ramos.
Yeah,
going up to random people and going, "Hey, you're a champion. I'm a champion too." Real Madrid won a couple years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but as I say, it's because there's much more respect.
I threw out the most random soccer player.
The pugilist starts.
Sergio Ramos did win with Real Madrid, right? A couple times.
I'm sure. Yeah. He was with Real Madrid for a long period, so he's bound to have won something.
He was with them for like 15 years or something like that.
They would have won something. Champions League or the league, at least. It would have been one of the two.
They were in the Liga for his entire run. And
Yeah. Well, you got La Liga, which is the Spanish league, and then you have the Champions League, which is like where all Europeans compete in. So you get a few Spanish clubs and a few British clubs and a few German clubs and so forth. You know, like, because unlike America, when we say European or world sports, we actually include other countries.
Hey. The Blue Jays
Okay,
exist. Baseball
the World Series. I mean, why don't you invite Japan? They play baseball.
Yeah.
World
Hey,
Series.
the World Baseball Classic's coming up, and the teams look good. That's a real like Olympic style all country.
And over in Lithuania and Hungary, they're all basketball mad. You don't bring them over for a thing.
The NBA.
The NBA
There's even British American football teams. You don't bring them over. All right, rant over.
He's got a point. That's all I'll say on that one.
We're about an hour 25 minutes. Let's
Nearly
try
an hour and a half.
I think
90s,
yeah.
So
Now
final
we're
thoughts
talking
on the
about
show?
football.
Anything y'all want to get out before we wrap up?
So my final thoughts is I really enjoyed the show, but a very deflating ending. And I am curious to know what you think, guys. Like, will this lead to more UK shows?
Yes.
Yes.
They saw the money in this event, and WWE always follows the money.
Yeah, and despite what a lot of people might think, the British independent wrestling scene is 100% not dead, and you can check that out because every week we deliver on Tea and Tights Pod.
I'm gonna say
a
it.
great
And I know
roundup of
you're
the
gonna
British
disagree
wrestling
with
scene.
me. I'm gonna
What's
say
that?
I know you're gonna disagree with me.
Which one?
The independents get rated everywhere. WWE did not kill
it happens.
the UK scene. It forced it to replenish, but it was going to need to replenish eventually anyway.
Exactly.
Because you can't have the same scene for 10 years. So people who didn't watch British wrestling anyway run with that narrative because it's a I hate WWE thing, not because it's I care about British wrestling.
I mean, where do you think a guy like Just Joe Lando comes from? I know everyone I've talked to who watched his debut on GCW, watched his matches on GCW, absolutely raved about Joe Lando, and he's just a tiny tip of the iceberg of how many incredible performers there are.
And they're gonna NXT Europe's gonna do the same thing to the scene that NXT UK did last year. But Cara Noir cannot stay in Progress Wrestling forever. He can't.
He's going to DDT. He's gone. He's signed. He's going to be in DDT for like 6 months.
I just threw out a name. He can't stay in the British independent scene forever, so he's going to have to leave the scene eventually anyway, and then somebody else is going to have to take a spot.
They have. His name's Spike Trevay, and he's an incredible, captivating wrestler who just takes the audience in the palm of his hands. And, ICW, I've got a show going out now, 12 p.m. tonight, What's Occurring. You've got Progress Wrestling tomorrow, Wrestling Gulf Madrid, in that order. All sold out shows. TNT Extreme, Reign of Fire following that. That's a sold out show. The scene is alive and well. There's incredible performers, and if you want to know more about the British wrestling scene, you can check out the Tea and Tights Pod every single week where we do the British Wrestling Roundup. And of course, tomorrow we are dropping an interview with NXT UK, former NXT UK superstar Eddie Dennis. We'll be talking about his progress run and his post NXT UK and NXT Europe announcements. So make sure you check that out. But for now, I'll leave it after all those plugs. Follow me on Twitter at GBOtaku82 and at Tea and Tights Pod.
To answer your question, I definitely do think it leads to more shows. I think we're going to see more stadium shows in general because that was an edict that sent down from Nick Khan that they wanted to do more of was big stadium shows. And there's a lot of money in the UK scene, as you just saw tonight. I
think two next year.
No. And I'll tell you why. With the exception of COVID, you cannot pre-tape WrestleMania without running spoilers, and you don't want to spoil your biggest event of the year. The reason SummerSlam 92 worked taped was because it was a big local thing, but the internet didn't exist for
the internet was on its butt.
And so you would have to air, this show started at 1 p.m. You would have to start WrestleMania at 1 p.m. in the States where I am, but that is 10 a.m. in LA, for example, where they'll be next year. So the issue with that is,
Hey, that's what time I watch Wrestle Kingdom in the UK, by the way.
Thank you.
but the money is in how many people are going to be watching worldwide, and messing with that completely throws off everything, because maybe people that would buy tickets have work that they can't get off, or that would have work that they can't get off, or maybe they have stuff to do with their families on the weekend. You cannot isolate, and
the top 4 shows. You
cannot
can't.
You cannot isolate your viewing audience where the money is year round to do that.
I think you're going to get two arena shows next. 2 stadium shows next year. They'll just be maybe Clash of the Castle 2, maybe even Clash of the Castle 3. But I think 2 stadium shows a year in the UK would be awesome next year. Maybe 3 the following year. But you can't ever put not your top 4 and then the 4 after. You can't have Elimination Chamber. You can't have TLC. You can't have any of those. You got to have it as their own thing.
We're not even getting to conversion rates, because the biggest money show of the year is WrestleMania by far.
Yeah.
The difference between the pound and the US dollar, that would be financial suicide with the financial success of WrestleMania, because it costs more to bring everybody out to the UK, but B,
its size.
The value in value fiscally in the money that the show would bring in is less in the UK than it is in the States, and you don't want to purposely take less money on your biggest show of the year.
I mean, God, Dallas is bigger than the bloody England is, so it's about comparable size as well. So you can't ever, as I say, you don't mess with the top 4 shows. I guess you don't mess with TLC. Make sense.
It never has. I don't understand why so many people go, "Oh yeah, it totally makes sense."
I'm not saying it makes sense. Me. I'm just saying
I think the British wrestling fans have earned a WrestleMania, considering how much they stay up
UK,
for. But it's like me going, I stay up till 3 a.m. to watch Wrestle Kingdom, bring Wrestle Kingdom to the States. That makes zero sense. For New Japan, like that would be stupid.
Like your core market, you can't go against your core market. You got to know who it is, and New Japan know that at the end of the day they're recognizable in Japan. Yes, there's some on US.
Tokyo Dome makes them the most money.
Dome, exactly. I love the Tokyo Dome. I love Wrestle Kingdom. It's just an amazing show, and it's easily comparable to WrestleMania. But you know what? It's in Japan,
in the market,
so it's smaller. Yeah.
Like that British wrestling fans saying we need a WrestleMania is like me saying bring a Wrestle Kingdom to Tampa because I live here.
Like, I want Clash of the Castle.
It would be cool, but it makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't need WrestleMania. I need Clash of the Castle. No, because you got Wembley. You've got loads of huge stadiums all around the UK. You got Bristol, Birmingham. There's so many places they could go. So you can have Clash at the Castle twice a year, once in Cardiff, once in Wembley, maybe in London, as I say, and then maybe do it free. But I think we need our own.
Something to consider: how much of the roster can get through customs to go there? Because the Usos couldn't even get through customs to go into the UK. Now, I think a lot of that probably has to do with Jimmy Uso's DUI.
Yeah, it is.
But like, if some of these guys can't even get into the country, and you're not going to keep the Usos off of WrestleMania.
It's why Nick Wayne ain't coming to GCW in a couple of weeks over in the UK. We don't let people in who've got criminal records. We're so
Nick Gage?
No Nick Gage in the GCW.
I heard Nick Wayne, and I went like, wait, that's not right.
No, Nick Wayne's going to be there, and he's got some bloody awesome matches coming up. As I say, we'll be doing a special with yourself, with Mike, because it's massive and we need to talk about it. But that's for another time.
So, Tom, get your plugins.
So, you can find me on this platform for the Wrestle Watch Pod. An episode will be live tomorrow, James?
If we can make it work, yes. If not, we'll just schedule it for later in the week, because I know all three of us have had convoluted weeks.
Hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully.
Take her at the bottom, folks.
Hopefully tomorrow.
All of the plugs. Teen Tights, Andy Moore. I messed up your Twitter. Sorry.
It's all right. They can see up there at GB Otaku 82 because I am a huge anime nerd as well as a absolute wrestling nerd as well. I'm just a complete geek overall, to be honest.
Either yours is misspelled and I just misspelled it, or I got the right ad.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get it in
Yes,
tomorrow.
cool.
And like you say, we'll be watching Danielson. Who are we watching? Danielson.
Anderson versus Morishima.
Morishima. This is brutal. This is the type of wrestling I love. So I'm going to be
So
tuning
that
in to
match
hear what you guys have to say.
It's from Manhattan Mayhem, I believe. It got 4.75 stars from the Observer. I think it warrants a 4.5, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's because it wasn't at the Tokyo Dome or at York Hall in the UK.
It was a 9.4 out of 10 on Cage Match rating.
You know, it has to be at the York Hall in London right now to get a 5-star match.
Yeah, that Morishima run is very underappreciated. But
Definitely.
And you can also find me on Twitter at Tom Talk Travish.
you can find
Keep an
me
eye out
at
for the interview he did with me as well because I had so
was
much
just
fun
gonna say
talking to
that.
Tom.
And also, you can find my interviews with many of the greats in the wrestling media, such as these two fine gentlemen.
Well,
on
a
my
lot of
YouTube-
greats and this guy.
Yeah, I'm like down. I'm like somewhere, but I love that. Thank you so much for including me because man, you've had some legends of media on there, and to have me on there, it made me feel important. I love
That
that.
was a lot of fun. Like, you know how much I
Yeah.
enjoyed our conversation. And then that led to a great conversation with your co-host, which will be they'll both be airing in the next couple of weeks. And then, I know it's a little ways away yet, but October is going to be Body Slam month because that's when all of my interviews are airing with the Body Slam crew, such as Your Good Self, Throwback. I've gone blank. Who else have I got?
Corey Brennan?
Corey Brennan. Wait, excuse me. One
Mark.
second.
There's so many incredible contributors Body Slam right now. It is difficult to keep track.
Mike, that was the one I couldn't think of. My brain
Mike.
was
Mike,
completely
I'll be
blank.
on with him on the All Out Push show tomorrow night, so be sure to watch that. Him and
I
Rex.
My brain
love
went-
chatting with Mike right now. He's one of my favorite guys to chat
Mike's
about
the man.
because he's got the US independent scene covered. I've got the UK independent scene covered. So we're constantly saying, "Oh, you should be watching this match," and back and forth. So I can't wait to sit down with him on for that
And of
GCW
course,
special.
You can see me talking these with Ash Nova, who will be on Body Slam's All Out Watch Along tomorrow, and Queen of the Indies Tiff. I keep forgetting what her ad is because I just know her as Tiff. But this Monday we do great shows every other week. Be sure to watch that. Follow my Twitter and I'll give you updates on that. At the Jameis, you can see everything I do with Body Slam, including the All Out post show tomorrow night.
By the way, it's Love to Dream 82.
I'm aware. You went and looked it up, didn't you?
Yes.
No.
All it up. So, of course, follow me on Twitter. Follow all Body Slam platforms at Body Slam Net. Like, subscribe on this YouTube channel. Go buy our PWT's shirts. Support great content creators like these two and other people like me. And of course,
independent wrestling.
Of
And
course.
one little plug, I've had an interview just go up with Kristen Ashley from Bell to Bell. If people could check that out, I would very much appreciate it.
Check that out.
And so, Slam Chats, whatever that is, Cass tells me to plug it. I really don't know what it is.
It's basically super chat from what I can gather.
All right, but apparently it supports us, so be sure to do that.
Yeah. Support everybody that supports bodyslam.net.
Support all of our people. Kyle
Yes.
does great work. Mike does great work. These two do great work. Dan does great work. Cass does great work. Corey, Rami, and Brady do tremendous work on our news. So support everybody. Follow everybody on this show on Twitter. You can see our ads on the name. And have a fantastic day because it's still only 6:30 in the States.
It's quite
And
nice.
as I
It's still
say,
only
don't
11:30.
feed the trolls.
Tomorrow, But remember, tomorrow, follow the Body Slam Twitter because I'm doing the Worlds Collide coverage. Like George Costanza says, and one of the greatest television shows of all time, worlds are colliding.
And don't forget, 12 p.m. GMT, the first interview of Eddie Dennis post NXT UK.
Of course.
Bodyslam.net, Teen Tights Pod.
Have a great day, people.